Hello and welcome to the Walk Off, everybody. I'm Scott Belford. Very excited for today's episode. This is extra content for you, folks. We have a very special guest. Remember, if you are new to the channel and not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It always helps us out on that. Let's dive in here. So excited to have returning to the show Blue Jays analyst and writer with MLB.com. Keegan Matheson, welcome to the walk-off, buddy. Thanks for coming back.
I'm happy to be here, man. How's everything going?
Things have been good. Things have been
Yeah.
really good. I'm excited to talk to you about your book, The
Hey,
Franchise. Listen, last time we've been talking about this for like a year, and you kind of
yeah,
explained it like 2024 was almost like you were doing two jobs. One,
yeah.
your analyst job, the other one, writing this book. And here we are now, man, literally less than a month from the release date. I even saw you had a hard copy. Is this true? Is it
Yeah,
that real?
let me go onto the desk here, which will be really
Oh,
great for our audio listeners. But let me
yes.
walk you through what I'm doing. Reaching under the desk with these right here.
Oh,
These
baby,
beautiful copies have
look at
arrived.
that.
A few boxes arrived here last week. I've got a lot more coming. My life is going to be lugging boxes around for a while
Yeah.
that hopefully grow emptier. But look at this pretty cover that the fine people at Triumph put together. I called in the heavy hitters on the back cover. I
Hmm.
really did. I paid off so many people. Buck Martinez cost me
Yes.
$1,000. Dan Schulman, I got down to $750. But the overdrive guys were tough. They were 500 each, so a total 1,500. But it was man, opening that was real fun. And I
Buddy, it
tweeted
had
this,
to.
but my girlfriend Amanda took a video of it. And it was very sweet, and I didn't know she was taking the video because I was pretty in the zone. And it probably would have been a nice piece of marketing materials, but yeah, I don't typically dress too nicely around the home, so I
Oh,
don't
you
think
were
it's
in full
useful.
relax mode.
I was full, no pants, wide open shirt. Yeah, and I don't believe in recreating fake Instagram content, so it's just kind of died on the vine there. But man, I've got these stacked up every corner of my house, and Lord, we are close.
Well, a
June 3rd,
hearty
finally.
congratulations, man. You've
Thanks,
got to
man.
feel accomplished, right? Like there's got to be a
Does.
little sense there of like, holy shit, I wrote a book.
It feels relieving and exciting. I have struggled with allowing myself to be excited, um, both for this book and in this job. I mean, it's something I battle all the time, I guess. But
Yeah.
to finally see it and to be past the point of work with it, because it was a lot of work. It was, listen, it's not hard work. I grew up working actual hard jobs. My job right now, it's not all that bad. I sit and type little stories about baseball. It's okay. But the time that went into it, and my lord, there were some frustrating times. My friends in the press box are kind of slowly this year being like, "Yeah, Keegan, you weren't great last year." So it's my thanks to them, but it's exciting, man, and to hear people excited about it, it's been awkward for me because kind of the point, Scott, of my day to day coverage
Hmm.
is like not about me,
Hmm.
right? Now I have to talk a little more about me, which is, if I'm out at the bar and I have a couple of pints, sure, I'll yap about myself all day, but professionally, it's a bit weird for me. So it's an adjustment, but man, to hold it, there's still 1% of me that didn't think it was going to happen
Yeah.
somehow, It kind of unlocks a new realm of imposter syndrome, if that makes sense. It's taken me a while to get my feet under me in this job, but now this is
Yeah.
a new world I'm stepping into. It's kind of
You're an author.
is someone pulling a prank on me? But it's here. It's real.
Well,
My God, let's hope for a little late May winning streak. No better
yeah.
marketing plan than that.
Exactly. I couldn't be happier for you, Keegs. Honestly, really excited to read the book.
Thanks, man.
I will, for everyone listening, there is a pre-sale link already out there, so I will post that in the comments section, and you can get that book ordered before the masses do. On that,
Maybe.
buddy, rough weekend for the
Yeah.
Jays. Just it felt like we were so close to gaining momentum and
Yep.
then just out the door with that. Obviously, blowing a game in the ninth is always tough to take because they did on Saturday. And then even yesterday, watching it, it felt like they were just an inch away
Exactly.
from turning the tides, and it never really came. Here are some stats for you. So right now, this team sits at 23 home runs. That is 30th. They have 120 runs. That is 25th in baseball. Strikeouts, they have 313, which is second in baseball, and then an ERA of 4.24, which is 19th. Just try to make sense of those numbers. It's pretty difficult. So my question to
Yeah.
you is on a bigger picture, okay? Let's reel this microscope out a little bit and take a look. They're at 16 and 18. Do you feel like this team is better than they have performed in April?
Yes, but so is the 2024 and 2023 team,
Mm.
probably. And even when I mean, I know I spend too much time talking about home runs. I know that there are certain members of the organization that would probably like me to do it less. But when I look at that's what baffles me about this team. And it's what leads me to a struggle of how to frame them, which is that they have the fewest home runs in Major League Baseball. And they've allowed, I think, the third most at this point, but they've been hovering around that top three. If you told me that, and you didn't tell me any other context, if you told me just that, I'd tell you, okay, this team sucks. They're
Yeah.
probably 10 and 23 right now. It's bad.
Mhm.
But it shows you how well they do other things. And that's not an excuse. That's not a but.
No.
It's such a hard balance because the rotation, yeah, they need depth. Yeah, they need Bowden Francis to bounce back, but I still believe in the rotation.
Mhm.
The bullpen, oh my God, they're exhausting them. But I think the talent's there to have an okay bullpen, good enough to get to the trade deadline where I think they'll add. And the base running, the defense, we know those are good. Not that anyone buys a ticket to see base running, but whatever. The fact that they can have such a discrepancy in home runs and still be around 500 is ridiculous.
Yes.
And I don't mean ridiculously good, or it's just bizarre. And that makes this team so hard to
Truly judge.
frame. I don't know who they are. And yes, you want to believe power will come back as people like Anthony Santander get hot. Bo Bichette's
Mhm.
got to be better than he's been. But at the same time, this is year three of this conversation. So when will that happen? How extreme will that be? I don't know. And it's again another strange year, but it's to me, Scott, and I've written this a few times. Like it's a simple problem. It's a very basic problem they're facing right now.
Mhm.
It's not complicated. I don't need 100 baseball savant pages. I don't need to use the word process again for the rest of my life. My God, please. But it's just they need to hit more. They need to score more, and they're not.
Yeah, I mean, runners in scoring position, Keegs, I see RISP and it kind of makes my heart sink a little these days, you know? And I it's obviously been an issue,
Yeah.
but is this run a little bit of bad luck? Like, are they're getting plenty of chances? Like they are getting guys on base, but then I have that PTSD of the last couple years too, where it's like it feels like small sample size. They've got to break
Yeah.
out of this. There's no way that a baseball team can continue to have this problem without eventually the tides turning. And then they never really did. So I guess my question to you is, can we expect this team for that to start to fall the other way, these dominoes to start to fall their way, where they are maybe getting a runner on second base, and all of a sudden you're like, oh God, I hope they're managing to lay this bunt down so that they can get a fly ball and score one run.
It has to a certain extent. Now, like how much does it need to? I guess if they get this offense back to middle of the road, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now going into what day are we? Monday, the off day. They are 25th in runs scored, tied with the Royals, just above the Angels. Not where you want to be in any regard. Not the company you want to keep. But if they were to be a middle of the road offense,
Mm-hmm.
ranked 14, 15, 16, is that enough? Probably. Looking up right now, the 15th ranked offense is the Athletics. Dead middle of the league at 150 runs. That's 30 more runs. That's another run a game. That's going to be a few
Wow.
wins.
Well, when
They
you say the
just need to be
numbers, that
average, you
hurts.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. And again, it just all comes back to the homers, man. It's if they are a league average home run hitting team, this changes so quickly. Now they're 23 home runs, puts them dead last. Who's in the middle of the league? The Giants, the Nationals, they're around 36, 37. So that's,
So
again,
10
you're
more
talking
home
another 10
runs.
more
Yeah.
home runs. That changes everything so quickly. And to a certain extent, I intentionally oversimplify that, but it's the easiest way. And I'm a big believer in easy in baseball at this point.
Hmm.
There's a lot of ways to complicate this, to talk about swing decisions, getting your A swing off, which is another phrase I would like to bury, and I will chisel that tombstone myself, man, getting your A swing off. But it's a lot of ways to dance around saying score more runs. And the tricky part now, Scott, when I look at the roster, is that it has to come from the roster itself.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, maybe eventually Davis Schneider comes back. Maybe eventually Aurelvis Martinez hits enough that you can close your eyes when he plays defense and you can throw him in the lineup, maybe. But there's not a star coming over the horizon. You
No.
know, Arjun Namal is not going to turn 22 tomorrow somehow. You are not going to find another Jose Bautista on a minor league deal out of nowhere. They've got to make this work with who they have. And that's the tricky part. Now, I don't think it's hard to see where that optimism should be. It's Kirk, it's Santander, it's Bichette, it's Clement. Like all of these guys should hit more, but how much more and how soon? Because it's for me, it's 100-game season. It's trade deadline.
Hmm.
That's it. They've got to be involved at the trade deadline, and then I think they can go nuts. But they need to be legitimately in the race by July 31.
Couldn't agree more. And we're going to dive into pitching here in just a second, just because the numbers the pitching is putting up is so interesting. But before we do that, I'm going to tease the fact that May 15th, so Thursday, 1 week from this Thursday,
I like it.
we are doing our second baseball town of the year. Third, I guess, if you count Dunedin, but where you were a guest and was very, very pleased to have you and Ben Nicholson Smith there. But really excited to have you back here May 15th as one of our panelists. We're going to pump the book and all that sort of stuff. So I'm taking this moment while you're on the show to tell everyone who's listening, hey, come out. Comedy Bar. It's
Yeah.
7 p.m. on Thursday. We have a blast with these baseball towns. It's a live panel. You, as the listener, gets to kind of chime in and ask us questions and stuff like that. So, again, ticket link is going to be right there next to the pre-sale book link I'm putting in here. So, again, Comedy Bar, May 15th. Join Keegs and I
Come
on
drink
that.
beer and yell at
Come,
me.
come drink beer and yell at Keegs.
And don't go to the wrong comedy bar. 3 pieces of advice.
Do not go to the Danforth Comedy Bar, Bloor
It
and
happens.
Ossington.
I'm looking
Okay.
forward to it. And you know what, Scott? I just looked. Leafs off night.
I know.
You
I
know?
saw that too, and I was like,
There we
"Oh,
go.
thank the good Lord above!" Right?
The Leafs have a strange amount of impact on my life because, I mean, I'm not a hockey guy. I'm a bad Canadian. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're all going to get through this together. I want my friends to be happy. And admittedly, if Canadian teams go deeper, it's good for quote unquote my industry. Sure.
Sure.
But as I look forward, when the Leafs are in the playoffs, my radio and TV requests go down to about zero, which is wonderful because no one is asking me to come on the radio station at 5:31 in the morning for no money. It's great.
Yeah.
But you know what? If the Leafs were to get knocked out of the playoffs before the book were to come out, it would be okay. But that's how I get canceled right here. But nah, I promise I only kid. It's good for everybody, but it makes my life so much quieter.
Oh,
And
I'm
for
with
a lot
you.
of my colleagues on the beat too, like if they're working at Sportsnet or TSN, they'll get to joke like, "Oh no, like it's they don't need TV from me today. They don't need a radio hit from me today. We're all Leafs." And I'll always joke, I'll say, "Oh yeah, me too at MLB. Yeah, we're pumping the Leafs coverage today." So
That
it's
shifts
good.
quick, though. That shifts quick.
Oh, it does, man. The day the Leafs get eliminated,
Yeah.
the morning I wake up, it every every general sports show in the country is like, "Hey man, we'd love to catch up on where the Jays are at." I say, "Well, I don't know, man. Google it. We'll talk next week." But
Okay. This kind of jumped off the page to me, Keegs, that this team is second in strikeouts with 313. And I'm
Mm.
not talking the hitters, I'm talking the pitchers, which you kind of go through this starting rotation. And as comfortable as I am with them, they don't scream huge strikeout guys. But you add Jeff Hoffman in this bullpen, you bring back Jimmy Garcia, and all of a sudden these Ks start to accumulate. Chris Bassett is out of nowhere at
Yeah.
36 years old, a strikeout machine. And then you also look at the ERA that sits 19th, 4.24, and that's also kind of an odd number to pair with those strikeouts. It feels like this team's pitching staff is either unbeatable or incredibly beatable. Like there really is no middle ground. Where are you at on this Toronto Blue Jays 2025 pitching?
It's like Bowden Francis captures it well, like
Mm-hmm.
no hitter into the fifth and then a couple bombs.
Mm-hmm.
It's just real extremes. And what shocked me is the bullpen. I didn't expect this in the bullpen. I won't pretend I did. The Blue Jays bullpen, and I'm talking like the last decade, has always felt a few years behind the rest of baseball. So many times I remember covering, those 18, 19, 20 teams, and Charlie Montoya would be saying, "Oh no, this reliever is really going to help us. They throw 95." And I'd say, "Everyone does. Send me to Driveline for a week. I'll throw 95. Who cares?"
Yeah.
Like the Jays did not have that pipeline of young kids slinging 100 miles an hour where everyone else did. And the Jays last year were one of, if not the lowest strikeout bullpens in baseball because they just didn't have any of that high octane stuff. And they were without Jordan Romano and Jimmy Garcia for points. Jeff Hoffman's amazing, man.
Yeah.
That is one of the best moves this front office has ever made, I think. And, I've compared it often to BJ Ryan, and we know how year 2 and 3 of BJ Ryan went when he had to undergo surgery. And you hope that never happens to anyone. It's luck of the draw sometimes with relievers.
Yeah.
But the first year BJ Ryan had was one of the best seasons we'll ever see from a reliever in Toronto. And we're seeing something really, really similar from Jeff Hoffman right now. And add in Jimmy Garcia, who outside of his last one has been great. Brendan Little, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, out of nowhere, seems. Brendan Little's a great example of how I try to learn a little bit in this job and be a bit less stupid every year. But Brendan Little never really jumped off the page and amazed me. But Blue Jays people just kept talking about him and loving him. Clearly they knew something. Like clearly this was what they were chasing. Credit to Pete Walker and those guys. But
100%. And I'll chime in a little here because I watched him in Buffalo last year, and he was a guy that they went to in the biggest moments. And honestly, very much to like what you're saying, I found myself, I feel ignorant now because I found myself asking, why? Why is this the guy you're pushing? 4 ERA, maybe a little under that. Like really, nothing really. His stuff didn't jump out of his arm, like he wasn't blowing you away with what you were watching, and the numbers on the page weren't blowing you away. So kudos to the Jays for whatever they dialed in on there.
So the bullpen's been great, man. If Eric Swanson gets back, that helps. We'll see. Getting into the back of the bullpen where you're leaning on guys like Eric Lauer, waiting for Nick Sandlin to get back, it's a little messy. They need more, frankly. But the rotation is really interesting. Like I think Kevin Gausman, I said it going into the year, I thought he'd be a top 3 Cy guy. I still think he will be. Like I think he's good this year. Bassett has surprised me, but geez, they need some depth, man. Like they have gotten very fortunate with depth over the years. When you go back, 2022 was the Ross Stripling year where he stepped in and was amazing. There was the year that Manoah went down and Hyun-Jin Ryu got back from surgery just in time for that. A year or two ago, they had to go as deep as, Bowden Francis, Trevor Richards, who they kind of used as a piggyback. Last year, when they traded everyone, Bowden Francis was there to look like the best pitcher in baseball for a while. Like they've never had to go 7, 8, 9, 10. And if they do right now, they're toast. Like that's just not going to work. So having Jose Urena coming in to help get you by, it's a lesson in how thin pitching is. in Major League Baseball. It's kind of getting to the point of like NFL quarterbacks of like there's just not enough.
Hmm.
It's not just a premium position, but there's like not enough of it at all. And we're seeing teams patch it together with whatever they can grab onto. And the Jays are probably stuck doing that because I don't know when Max Scherzer is back. It could be 2 weeks. It could be much longer. You just don't know until he's all the way stretched out.
So let's dive into this a little bit here, Keegs, because you touched on some really interesting stuff when we're talking depth, right? And just the lack of starting pitching in baseball in general. And I know we watched them go out just a couple days ago and grab Spencer Turnbull off the free agent market here. Jose Urena, you kind of touched on there. We're waiting on Alek Manoah to come back, and fingers crossed. And this is where this team is at when it comes to
Yeah.
death, is they're hoping a guy coming off of surgery who had a huge question mark over the last year before he got injured to be able to step in here. So maybe touch on Turnbull a little bit. What can Jays fans expect out of this newly signed guy? Jose Urena, my guess is what? Just a Band-Aid? Like, where is this team at when it comes to hopefully bridging some sort of gap to Manoah, and then fingers crossed that he works?
Yeah, Urania feels like he'll start Tuesday. Feels like it at least. And he was flying to the West Coast with them. Now, if he can just give you innings, cool. Great. For a week or two. You don't need everyone to be a permanent starter. Like if someone can give you the first couple starts of Easton Lucas, you just got to know when to cash out, and that's difficult. But Urania, there's velocity there. It's a little more ground ball than strikeout, and that's fine. Spencer Turnbull is a little more exciting if he can get back stretched out. I'm surprised he was still a free agent, and I'll be interested to speak to him to see if this was a situation where he had minor league offers but was waiting for the right spot, which would be, shout out to his agent, probably smart and worked out, or how that worked, because he ended last year injured but looked fantastic when he was healthy. Now, at the same time, naturally, these two guys will get the spring training treatment where folks will try to sound smart and say, look at this, look at how much this breaks, look at how much they were available in early May. Let's not get too crazy here. We often try to paint every new thing as the greatest thing to ever happen. But still, this is better than I thought the Blue Jays would be able to get in free agency. You're not digging down to independent league ball or trying to get a complete reclamation project. Like these guys have shown they can survive in the big leagues. Turnbull being, I think, the more exciting one here, not just as a starter, but even if he's pitching in a hybrid role eventually. And man, the Jays need Scherzer back so badly.
Yeah.
Because while they are just one pitcher away from a healthy rotation, that also means they're a bad day away from being two pitchers away. It doesn't always go in the optimist direction. This could go the other way as well. And we've seen Bowden Francis struggle a bit recently. So you need some support in that rotation. And what makes it more worrying is that Jake Bloss left his last start injured. We don't have an official word on him yet. I asked yesterday, which would have been Sunday, nothing yet. But man, it's just, for years, the Jays have tried to develop that 6-7 starter type. I think back through like TJ Zoik, Anthony Kay, Thomas Hatch, Jacob Wagsback. Like there's so many of those types. And I know there's 5 or 6 more that have just blended in my brain over the years. And Bloss has a very good chance to be one that works, but it hasn't worked out how they've hoped really in many of those cases.
It does feel like they've taken a little bit different approach this year, and I don't know if it has to do with the fact that maybe Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro are actually starting to feel a little bit of heat here and starting to kind of view this year as incredibly important for their own careers. But I mean, if you go back a year or two, they weren't going out in May when there was trouble and signing a Spencer Turnbull. So, I mean, good news, I guess, like that they actually are filling holes.
I think so. Yeah, you want to see aggression, and even with their roster, I think we've seen a bit more of that. Use Davis Schneider as the example. Last year, Davis Schneider would have gotten a lot more time, and Lord knows he did get a lot of time last year. I still think Davis Schneider's a big leaguer. I hope I'm covering him again soon. But we saw that happen pretty quickly this year. It was obvious he was struggling, but a very patient team up until this year was suddenly a little quicker with the trigger. and that's a good thing. I think you got to win now. This is not a young team anymore either, because it feels like a young team sometimes, but all the Blue Jays prospects are 25, man. Like this is not a team that graduates like 21-year-old prospects unless they're
No.
Vladdy and Bo. All of these guys are like 25 with 3 kids, like they're grown adults kind of close to their ceilings. So I like that they're moving a bit quicker on that. And honestly, the realities of the front office have to be part of it. I don't say this is a dig. I say this is human reality, I think.
Yeah.
If I have, come, how do I word it? If I'm coming off a few years where the public may not have been happy with my performance, yeah, I'm probably going to try to kick it into a different gear. You have to be aware of things. Now, Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins are not there sitting on Twitter and caring what I say every day.
No.
I hope not. But they're still smart people. They know how this world works. And they know that if things do go wrong, well, not a lot of front offices get a 4th manager to hire. And even though you just signed Vladdy, everyone knows how baseball works. So I think we're seeing some aggression that's good right now. And that's encouraging to see, because it's easy for MLB front offices to want to sound smart and say, "Oh no, we actually are prepared for this. We do have depth." Well, shut up. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes things go wrong, and that's okay. You've got to adjust to it.
Yeah.
But I think across baseball, you see sometimes where a front office will be hesitant to make some in-season moves early because it's an admission that, hey, we didn't really get where we needed to be with this position. So by doing these moves, 2 of them as well, I think that's really good by the Blue Jays, and it's they're showing more aggression than past years, which was needed.
Keegs, any word on Dalton Varsho?
Sounded pretty minor. I think he'll play Tuesday. It sounded a lot like something he could have played through, but Schneider didn't want to push it, mess with it too much. Anything with that's a little worrying, but the way Schneider explained it made sense too. He's coming from Dunedin to Buffalo to the turf to slamming into the wall. So ideally not too much, because I think he can be a big part of power in this lineup. But that was a little spooky. Thankfully, I didn't have to type the word shoulder. It's just lower back. And playing on that turf is, it's guys
especially
still
the way he plays. All
Lord,
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was intriguing to see how much Dalton actually made a difference to that lineup. And I know we're talking a really micro sample size here, Keeg, so I don't want to get too excited, but it does feel like he has found another offensive gear, or even if he can return to the gear he had in Arizona, would be helpful here for sure.
Oh, Lord, more than enough, man. And in spring training, he was interesting because I like guys who speak simply about hitting. And 2 years ago, Dalton Varsho was not that dude. I remember in spring training, we talked to him about swing adjustments, and he would start talking, and it would be, well, my upper half connected to the lower half. I'm trying to get the hip movement so that my knee's in the right place, so that my leg lifted. I'd be thinking, oh my God, dude, slow. No. Now, it's much simpler. He said, listen, I was getting under the ball, so I'm just trying to hit down on it. What he's trying to do is chop a ball into the ground, because it's like if you go out on the course with someone a golf course, and someone has a big slice, you just aim to the left a bit, let your slice come back into the fairway, whatever. Sometimes you don't need to reinvent hitting. You just need to make that subtle adjustment and let your game play a bit more, because he was popping too many balls up. And a pop-up is my least favorite play in baseball. It's worse than staring at 3 strikes to me. It's the ultimate play when you're popping it up in the infield, popping it up foul territory. He felt he was doing that too much. So instead of hitting through the ball, he's trying to chop downward on the baseball. And it sounds simpler. He sounds more mentally free with it, which is great, because his power is there. Like, I know Dalton Varsho wasn't 6'5". I don't care. We see guys of all sizes hit home runs. He is built, man. Like, if I was making an NFL team out of this roster, he would be my running back. And you would not be able to tackle him. He is a bowling ball of a guy, incredible shape. So if that works for him, great. And he's got that 20-plus home run power. I think 27 was his peak with the D-backs. But man, 20 plus on this team right now might get you the team lead at this point.
Truly.
So we'll see. And his speed only helps as well.
So a couple more things I want to talk to you about here, Keegs, while we got you. And of course, I always appreciate your time and
Absolutely.
generosity with it. Um, Andres Jimenez.
Mm,
Listen, I get DMs about him, and they range from what a great deal to is this the worst contract in the history of the Blue Jays,
oh yeah.
which is like such a massive gap. And I personally, I liked the move when it happened. I still like the move. I still think he's going to be worth the money. I know that he went on that 0 for 20 run or whatever there, and his batting average was down to 168 or whatever it was there, but he's starting to hit again. He went 2 for 4 a couple of the last 3 days, 1 for 4. You know, he's getting his hits. He's got 9 stolen bases. His glove is incredible, but I think the problem with Andres Jimenez is that this team has been so defensive orientated,
Yeah.
and so maybe he's getting some blowback that doesn't necessarily belong on his shoulders. So my
Definitely.
question,
Yeah.
my question for you, Keegs, is what is the best scenario to get the most out of this guy? I kind of like seeing him in that 9 hole. I
Yeah.
understand that there weren't a lot of other options when they had him in the cleanup spot. I understand that this whole Blue Jays lineup right now is still kind of trying to find itself. But in your opinion, Andres Jimenez, where do you want to see him in the batting order, and what kind of lines up for him for the Jays to get the most out of him?
I like nine. I think the bottom three, generally speaking, you can have your eight or nine where you're mixing and matching
Hmm.
platoons and stuff like that. But I love Jimenez as a nine because then if he gets on, he can create a mess on the bases and be a factor there somehow, some way. Um, since he's joined the Blue Jays, I think he's kind of been behind the PR eight ball by no fault of his own because he was acquired at the winter meetings when everyone wanted Juan Soto and Corbin Burns. And then suddenly they trade for a defense first second baseman. And going
Yes.
into the season, the whole talk was like, my God, there's too many second basemen. Um, I didn't see the Jimenez deal coming. If you had have given me 100 guesses on who the Jays would acquire, I wouldn't have thought of Andres Jimenez.
Same, buddy.
So the surprise and the position and the defense on top of defense didn't help the perception for Jimenez, which ain't his fault. And being around Jimenez, I mean, number one, a beloved teammate. I really like the guy. Interesting dude to talk to. And you see that this is not just like a natural talent thing. Like he is taking 4,000 ground balls a day. It looks mind numbing to me, but it's what makes him a truly great infielder. But you need to hit. You got to hit. And even if you're the nine guy, what is he at right now? A 570 OPS. Not going to work.
Hmm.
Last year, he was a 638 OPS guy. Ideally, you're more 650 and above. Now, I still feel like we're talking about like an early 90s number nine hitter, just to, hit 250, it's enough. But the defense is so good. The base running is so good. They just need a bit more from him. And that hot start was exciting. Um, it's everyone, myself included, probably got carried away with the here's Jimenez, David Popkins fixed him.
Yeah.
Wow, best trade of all time. Since then, it's looked really bad. The answer is obviously somewhere in the middle. And when I look at what's his career OPS at this point, 707, even if it's sliding under that a
I'd
bit,
take it.
600s, man. If Andres Jimenez puts up a 690 OPS and steals you, let's say, 25, let's call it 30 bases. He's at nine already. If he gives you a 690 OPS, steals 30 bags, and plays his type of defense, that's probably a 4 or 5 win player.
Hmm.
And it will not look like it when you're watching TV every night. And that's okay. It won't be as exciting as Vladdy or Bo. That's all right. He's not supposed to be. But he's got to hit a bit more. It's been a pretty rough stretch here for a little bit.
Last and not least, I mean, I almost hate bringing this up because people in every market complain about their manager. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally baseball fan
Yep.
101, right?
Oh
When
yeah.
things don't go well, guess who's to blame? It's the idiot who didn't change the pitcher when they should have. Now, that said, obviously, managing is a skill, and being able to manipulate a bullpen properly is the difference between winning and losing games. Where are you at personally on John Schneider? I know that there is a lot wrong with this team that is not
Yeah.
his fault. That said, there have been some moves where you're like, how did you not pull Jimmy after he loads the bases like that and is at 30 pitches as a reliever in 1 inning? How do you not pull Kevin
Yeah.
Gausman after he's, you know, I guess the strike against him people have is he's almost too loyal. So
Yeah.
this is what I want to know from you. Where are you at on John Schneider? As a guy who is there in the trenches with him day in and day out, you see what he's got to work with, you know what he's dealing with. John Schneider, where are you at?
It's it's perfectly timed for these sirens to start coming outside my window as we talk about John Schneider. I promise they're not coming from him. I just live in Toronto. I wish I didn't. I'm sorry. But with Schneider, first thing I'll say, and I wrote a story about this going into the season, and I still believe it fully, that I've seen him grow and develop in this job. And I'm a big believer that for better or for worse, we don't talk enough about how managers and coaches change and develop.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen Schneider get more comfortable in this job, but also be more himself. And he spoke to this that kind of early on, it was, listen, like spewing out the company lines. Um, what should I say? Because a manager's job is so complicated now. And I'm hesitant to say that because it kind of gets back to what I was talking about with hitting, Scott, where sometimes things intentionally get complicated because then you can't see the actual problem. So it's used as a weapon sometimes. I don't mean to do that, but when someone gets upset that John Schneider did not pull a pitcher at a certain point, it's not always just his call. Sometimes it is just his call. Sometimes there was a plan. Sometimes there was a reliever you don't know was available. Sometimes Pete Walker's very involved, sometimes less involved. I am there as much as anyone who is not a player or a coach for the team, and I don't know all the time. And I think that's important for me to say. Like I don't have the secrets of who makes the decisions. I still don't know what went into that Barrios decision in the wild card. Someday I will, I'm sure, but I'm there as much as I
Your
am,
next
and
book.
it's
Your next
still,
book.
yeah, maybe, and it's still a mystery to me sometimes. So I understand that the manager needs to be a face for that, and they're going to take the heat. He gets that, but I still don't have a perfect feel on which complaints are meant for a manager and which aren't. There's probably some that the manager deserves that they don't even get. Like it's that complicated.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting less existential. When I see Schneider in that role right now, pitching wise, yeah, Gausman for 53 pitches, not great. But Schneider said, listen, he talked to him. He's not going to do that again. He felt sick watching it, but there's lots of folks in the dugout that are involved in that conversation. The Jimmy Garcia one, another tough one, because like you say, he's trusting his guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
A guy who hadn't allowed a run yet.
Who hadn't allowed one. Now, Jimmy clearly didn't have it. He just didn't.
Yeah.
And I was off that day, and I was sitting here at home on my couch saying, oh my God, get him out, get him out, get him out. And
you weren't alone.
yeah, I think some people were saying the same. So it's one of those moves that if it works, you look great. And when I speak to old players, but like this came up a billion times with the book, talking to old players about John Gibbons and Cito Gaston. And everyone over and over and over would just say, he trusted you. He let you do your thing. He trusted you. He trusted you. You didn't have to second guess if you were getting pulled. He trusted you. So that's what you're going for, right? And, Cito Gaston's quote that I love so much, and he's said it a million times over the years, was that he would happily lose one game now to win 3 down the road type of thing. Now, I don't think that's not going to happen with the Jimmy or Gausman decision. That's too big, but there's an element of that you have to balance, man. And it's when I compare it to more old school managing, it's in there. You want to trust your players, but at the same time, there's a feel involved. And when it comes to the lineup, I don't know what else he's supposed to do
Yeah.
right now. The pitching, I'm certainly more open to criticisms on there. The lineup, I don't know what else. There's no player who's coming up. There's no guy stuck on the bench who's OPSing 900 who you're just not playing. It's if Alan Roden was hitting 350 and hitting a home run every other night and you're benching him, okay, what the hell are you doing? But I don't see where that is right now. So it's I've taken a long time to give a bad answer, but I think it kind of represents like how
No.
much of a struggle this is to capture because on the pitching side, yeah, there have been some decisions that may be imperfect, but on the offensive side, which is the problem, I don't know what he's screwed up. And at this point, I do not see John Schneider as the problem on this team, period. I see a manager who could probably use another bat or two to put into that lineup. And it's man, you can only roll out the same 13 guys the same way so many times. Ideally, Orelvis pops or Schneider comes back from AAA and really helps. But for the time being, man, the guys in there have got to hit.
It's difficult to measure the intangibles because
Yeah.
how do you? That's the thing with offense. It's really tough to blame Schneider for not hitting.
Mm.
And also, you know what? If they were scoring a few more runs, maybe pitching wouldn't be quite the margin of error that there is on it right
Yes.
now. Right?
Totally.
Like, yeah. All
That's a
right.
big one that came up after the last game, actually. It's like, yeah, you're running Jimmy into the ground. Yeah, you're pitching Hoffman multiple innings a lot, but it's because every game is 5-4. Win a couple games 8-1, and this all goes away.
Yes.
Like, give Eric Lauer an 8-1 lead in the seventh and tell him finish the game and
Finish
have a
it.
beer. Like, that's the dream for this team right now. I think John Schneider would pay $1 million to have that happen. Just an easy game. None of them have been easy. So everything's stressful and things get magnified and your back end relievers. We saw it with Little as well. Those walks that were so unlike him, like completely unlike him. I actually, because the press box is pretty far away in Toronto, and I said to Julia, I was like, "That's Little, right? That's not Lauer or another left. That's Little." But this is what happens when you're pitching and pitching and pitching, and I don't experience this myself, but from talking to pitchers, throwing in a 5-4 inning does do more to you than throwing in an 8-1 inning. So it's, man, they just need a lopsided something. Reset.
Keegs, thank you so much for joining me, buddy. I could sit and talk baseball with you all day long. I really look forward to having a pint with you at Baseball Town again,
Absolutely.
everybody. That is May
Come on out.
15th at the Comedy Bar on Bloor. His book, Keegan Matheson's The Franchise, out June 2nd. Look at that cover.
Wow.
For everyone who wants to get on the pre-sale, the link will be in the comments section. And for everyone else, where can they find the book once it is out and released, Keegs?
The good book. You can find it at the big spots like Amazon, like Chapters Indigo, if you're in the U.S., Barnes & Noble, U.S., Amazon. Or if you have a bookshop in your neighborhood, please go in and just tell them the name. I'm a bookshop man.
Yes.
So if you've got somewhere in your hood, give them the title, give them the publisher, Triumph Books, and hopefully they can get it there for you so you can support them. I know Amazon's easy and you can click a button. If that's your thing, great. But if you got a shop next door, give them some love.
I can't wait to read it, Keegs. Again, thanks so much for joining us, buddy.
You
Enjoy
got
your
it, my
day.
man.